Welcome to another edition of the Firestarter podcast presented by Boston Pizza. I'm Ryan Dietrich alongside Brendan Parker. Happy holidays, everyone. Parks, I don't want to brag, but this might be the earliest I've ever been done my Christmas shopping. And, I know you've got kids and are busy tending to that outdoor rink, but how goes the hunt? We're about a week out from the big day here.
I would be 100% lying if I said I really had anything to do with it on a good year. I can't. I talk. There's some communication. I'd say maybe this year more than any, I've contributed to the Christmas present list. But I would say at least, I don't know, maybe just to make sure it's safe, 95% of it's done by my wife. So I don't want to sit here and take any credit for. Now, listen,
you got to help with the wrapping.
In good stead. I'd say we're. Yeah. I'll do some of the wrapping. There's some idea contributions, some pickups. I'll say there's some pickups. You got to do some pickups, but I don't want to sit here and take credit for being done shopping. I'd say we're in a pretty good spot, but it has very little to do with me. So I think yours is far more well-earned than mine.
Well, my life is a lot simpler when you live alone. It's really not a big deal. You're just online shop like I do any day. So what's the difference, right?
Yeah, the online shopping's the game.
Oh my God, it's been great. Thank you to Canada Post, our local retailers, Amazon. They've all been great. I need to put out some beers or something on the front step and give them a proper thank you.
I know. Yeah. Or my doorbell rings like twice a day. I'm like, what's going on?
And it's the same guy, and you're like, I got to do something for these guys. Yeah. Anyway, we still have a few more days to finish up, so keep at it. In the meantime, we got some podcasts, and we've got a great guest joining us a bit later today. Season 9 of Letterkenny is set to be released on Christmas Day, and what has become somewhat of an annual tradition for us. We've got one of the stars of the show joining us ahead of the premiere. Nathan Dale's coming up shortly. We're going to talk a little hockey, a little blasty, and plenty of Letterkenny. Personally, can't wait for the new season because I think we can all agree with all this extra time, I'm kind of in need of a little bit of a binge session. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. I got to finish this most recent season yet, but I'm there. I'm almost there. So I'll have it done, but I'll have it done in time for Christmas Day for sure.
Good stuff. And also, you've heard him on the podcast once before, but it's been a while. Our boss, the director of digital and social here at CSEC, Ty Pilson, is going to join us for that interview as well. He is by far the biggest Letterkenny fan I know, so we just had to bring him along for this highly entertaining conversation with one of the stars of this Canadian institution. But first, Parks, we're kind of talking about it a little bit earlier. We're still awaiting, some dates, some news, the start date, structure, finances, everything as it relates to the upcoming NHL season. But we did get a piece of news earlier this morning. The Flames have announced the creation and kind of restructuring of their new goaltending department. They promoted former goalie coach Jordan Siglett to the brand new director of goaltending position. And then joining the team as the new goaltending coach is longtime NHL puck stopper and the former goalie coach of the Calgary Hitmen, Jason LaBarbera. Brendan, we know what Siggy has been able to do over the past number of years, grooming David Riddick as the tender he is today, helping Cam Talbot turn his career around last year, and probably most recently helping to identify 2020 fourth-round draft pick Daniel Chechelev, who's had just a ridiculous year in Russia so far. Just your thoughts. I mean, this is kind of becoming a bit of a trend in the NHL, and the Flames are certainly at the forefront of it, committing to that, direction, and in doing so, promoting from within.
It's clear. I think Jordan Siglett said it's been something they've been kind of looking at for the last year or so. And if you look at the structure of a hockey team, I think he kind of put it best. He was describing, sort of how you have a head coach and then they have assistant coaches to bounce ideas off of. But a lot of times a goaltending coach doesn't have that same thing. I mean, maybe you talk a little bit with your AHL goalie coach or somebody else, friends in the business. But within the four walls of your coach's office, that position is probably a little bit more isolated than anything else in the coaching staff. So I think this is a great move to have two guys who I'm sure, and I'm sure once we get the opportunity to talk with both guys, they have conversations just being down the hallway, Jason LaBarbera and Jordan Siglett, when he was with the Hitmen, LaBarbera. So I'm sure that those conversations already existed before. It sounds like they have a pretty good rapport already. And I know that as well as I do, just being around the Dome, Jason LaBarbera is another great person, great goaltending coach. He's done great things with the Calgary Hitmen. Yeah. I know they speak so highly about him. And I think you can kind of even see that just based on the opportunities he's been given with Hockey Canada. He's really climbed the charts through those Hockey Canada ranks over the years. And course, he's in Edmonton right now with the World Junior team. And great to see an opportunity happen to a good person, and look forward to working with him kind of on the media level over the course of the season as well.
It's fascinating because it feels like every time, we've talked goaltending, and it started probably with the signing of Cam Talbot going way back, a couple of summers ago. We know that Siggy especially has such a keen eye for talent, and he's always been at kind of the forefront of those discussions with Brad Tree Living when it comes to signing new players or grooming existing guys in the organization. I just want to go back to the draft in October. I mean, I mentioned a bit earlier how Daniel Chechelev is off to the start he is in Russia, and while we didn't know much about this player at the time he was drafted, Siggy sure did. He and Thomas Spear were kind of combing over the video of draft-eligible goaltenders, and he told me after the draft, they kind of found him by mistake. So he's pretty much under the radar until draft day, but when it came time, the Flames caught wind that a few other teams might be sniffing around, so they stepped up and used their fourth-round choice and made the pick, and it certainly looks to be a good one right now. So this is kind of what that new role looks like. I mean, Siggy's already been doing it for some time, but now you're taking some of that everyday workload off him and putting a very capable hands-on coach in charge of, the everyday with Jacob Markstrom, David Riddick, and Louis Domingue at the NHL level.
Absolutely. And I think you're right. I mean, when you're in the middle of a National Hockey League season, it is an everyday job. And if you kind of go over what you just described, going over those video, and obviously the pandemic, the early part, the first pause in the season allowed for Jordan and the rest of the coaching staff to go over video. But, this really does kind of speak emphasis from this organization on what they'd like to see in that position, and having the expertise of the guys who've played it, the guys who know it, the guys who coach it, to go over it and to find these prospects. And I think you can even circle back to last year's 7th round pick, a guy like Dustin Wolf.
Oh, yeah.
And look at the relationship that Jordan and Dustin have now. I don't know that has always been the case, not necessarily within this organization, but in anyone, where a guy who was just drafted, a 7th round pick, obviously a guy down the road, but works that closely with your NHL goaltending coach. I think Dustin even mentioned it in an interview we did. He said, he talks to Jordan basically or almost every day. And so, I don't know that that's necessarily something that happens going back a few years. So it kind of speaks to what they see this role being and how beneficial it can be. I mean, having that relationship as soon as the guy enters the organization to when hopefully he becomes a master plant part of your NHL team.
And you said the everyday portion. Who's the first guy on the ice every morning, skate practice, right? That's Jordan Sigla. So, he could use a little support, I think. But he's doing a great job. He's done a great job, and he's going to continue to do a great job. And I think we're both, certainly in this conversation, and Flames fans everywhere should be excited about the prospect of Jason LaBarbera joining the organization. Parks, great segue talking about Dustin Wolf, because we're, hopefully about a month until the NHL gets going. But the 2021 World Junior Hockey Championship kicks off next Friday, Christmas Day, with Team Canada dropping the puck on their gold medal pursuit the following day against Germany. You kind of mentioned Dustin Wolf there. The Flames are well represented. Jacob Pelche and Connor Zary donning the red and white. Certainly the feel-good story of the 2019 draft. That's Dustin Wolf, a 7th round pick. He's going to suit up for the U.S., and the Flames' 2nd round choice just a few months ago, Yan Kuznetsov. He's going to play for Russia. So plenty of Flames action to keep an eye on over the holidays. And it is a holiday tradition like no other, bubble or not. So first, I guess, a thought on the two Canadians. Jacob Pelche missed out on the tournament last year due to injury, but made amends this year. And Connor Zary, the Flames' 1st-round target this past October, certainly made some noise and impressed Canadian head coach Andre Tournier.
Yeah. And I think just in getting the opportunity to talk with them later that day after they were named to the team, I mean, the thing that stands out the most is the excitement level, right? I mean, that's
for sure
a tournament that every kid kind of thinks about, dreams about, to have their parents get to tell them over FaceTime. Obviously different than normal years, but kind of a cool moment for both guys and both families to begin with. And then, I think you have to commend them. 2 forwards on one of the deepest forward teams for Team Canada that we've seen in a long time, because in any other year, there would be players on this team that just simply would not be available due to NHL commitments. Kirby Dach obviously is one that jumps off the page right away. I mean, he played substantial minutes for the Blackhawks at the end of last season and into the playoffs. In a normal year, he would not be on this team, but instead there he is. He's there with Dylan Cousins. And So I think you got to commend them both for making this team. And especially, I think Jacob Pelche was really on the radar last year, given the season he had. And then obviously the injury derails that.
Yeah.
Connor Zary had some disappointment not getting further along in the process last year. But I think, you look at where he's come over the last year, and if you look at the training camp process, the selection camp for this World Juniors, I think that's where you kind of give them a pat on the back, because it wasn't like any other normal year. They didn't have all the games. They didn't have scrimmages. They didn't have the games against the U Sports athletes. You had to kind of impress in different ways. And I think he even kind of talked about that. His approach was, anytime we're doing anything team related, I see it as an opportunity to impress the brass. Andre Tournier singled them both out at different times. So give them props for whatever they did, whether it was on the ice in those limited sessions, the scrimmages, obviously, which is part of it, but even off the ice, where they clearly showed enough that the coaching staff trusts them and believes in them.
It's a good comment about the off-ice stuff too, because going through that 14-day quarantine, especially, and Brad Treliving setting up the trivia for the guys, and Andre Tournier. I mean, you're right. The off-ice portion might have been just as important in this case, because they had to set up activities and kind of show their worth, I guess, for lack of a better term, and their personality and their fit. And obviously, it made for a pretty good fit there. So,
and it's going to be an exciting team to watch.
It's gonna be incredible. It's gonna be incredible. Plus, we've got Letterkenny on Christmas Day, so
that's right.
World Junior Hockey,
and the NBA will be up and charging on Christmas Day, and you got the World Juniors, and you got NFL football, and suddenly we're getting back into the sports excitement here.
I like it. Yeah. So on that note, what do you say we get to our guest today? You know him as Daryl from Letterkenny, but he's also a born and raised Calgarian that loves the Flames and the return of Blasty. Pitter patter. Nathan Dale's coming up next.
In June 2019, Suzanne Hickey penned a tweet that captured the nation. Devastated you have dropped the bacon double cheeseburger pizza. It was our family favorite. We feel you, Suzanne. Well, the cheeseburger pizza is now back at Boston Pizza just for the holidays. Try it and other BP classics now, like the mouth-watering Pizza Burger or Amigo Pizza, and get a free Toblerone. Enjoy at our place or yours for a limited time. Visit bostonpizza.com today.
Well, Nathan Dales is joining us on the Firestarter podcast, and I mentioned this off the top of the show, but Ty Pilson is here today, and he is the biggest Letterkenny fan on the crew here at Flames TV. So, Ty, seems fitting. Why don't you take it away and kick us off here?
Yeah, I have become a big fan. I think actually after the first time I met Nathan when he came to a game, I thought, you know what, I'm going to have to watch this show. We had him and Jared at different times on our Flames TV desk in game, and yeah, I've become a big fan of the show. So yeah, we wanted to start off. Obviously, the new season debuts December 25th here in Canada on Crave, December 26th in the US on Hulu. So I wanted to ask you, I guess, first just about the new season coming up, the excitement for season 9, and also ask you about, I guess, it was July of 2018 was when Letterkenny debuted in the US. So this show is always a Canadian favorite, and now not only is it massive up here in Canada, but I'd argue getting just as big in the US. So what's it like looking ahead to this premiere?
It's always super fun. Like I kind of love it how we've got this thing going on where it's a Christmas Day, like it premieres on Christmas Day. It's huge. It's huge for me personally because my family and I have had this tradition ever since it started. Ever since season 1, we get together, and sit and watch a new season. And so it's so much fun because it's not only something that I'm super proud of, but I can, involve my parents in and be like, no, trust me. I made the right decision. I promise you, we can watch me on TV. And so I'm pumped, man. I'm always pumped about it. It's so much fun to do that. And, Mom is always a little bit, she winces a little bit at the choice language, but she's actually gotten really into it. And so, they're proud and it's super fun. So Christmas Day is big, obviously, because it's Christmas Day, but so much fun, and has been for the whole time for us because it's a sweet tradition now. Yeah.
That's funny because we don't swear enough on Flames TV. So maybe we need to bring some of that and make that a family tradition for Christmas Day this year.
That's what I was thinking the whole time. I was just like, you know what I'm missing here? It starts with F and ends with I don't know what. Yeah.
Depends how you spell it.
Exactly. Yeah. Could start with PH. I'm not really sure. Yeah.
Nathan, you got to tell us, because I mean, this is, to me, it's amazing. I mean, I've been a fan of the show since the beginning, but when it started, it was kind of it had a niche in society, right? You had a certain dedicated amount of followers that were really into it. I'm looking around nowadays, and you just see people from all over the world. I've got people that are sports reporters in the U.S. that have just become, kind of to steal a word that Ty did, super fans over the course of the pandemic here because they've had a chance to binge it. When you look at kind of the journey from where the show has been to where it is now and the acclaim it's getting, does that kind of blow your mind a little bit?
It totally does. I mean, it's not even like a little bit of a blown mind. It's crazy. And there's a lot of times where shows in Canada oftentimes have trouble sort of making the jump, the border jump to being relevant to the United States as well, and that I think is a pretty big testament to, I think, the quality of the show. And so, yes, of course, it blows my mind. It's great when I get feedback from people on, Instagram or on whatever it is, or however they can contact me. And it's people from Florida, and it's people from Texas, and it's people from California, and it's all over the place saying that they love the show and they can relate to it too, because, the show is Canadian. We've got a ton of Canadian stuff in it, but it also, doesn't mean you have to be from Canada to like it. And that sort of shows. And since we got to show on Hulu, which was great, you just put so many more eyeballs on the show, and the reception has been awesome. So totally blown mind, and obviously, fingers crossed, and I hoped it was going to be big and hoped it was going to be awesome, because I loved it from the get-go. But the fact that it sort of turned into that, totally wicked. I'm couldn't be happier about it. Yeah.
It's funny because I think in some ways we heard a lot of that with Schitt's Creek wrapping up. They kind of talked about that similar thing where, I think the slow progression, but it almost has separate waves because of now all the different platforms where shows can run and air and debut. And it almost kind of breathes, a certain level of life into something. And you think you're going along at a good pace, and then something else, launches, and then you go on to another level. I mean, is it kind of funny? I mean, maybe the experience isn't, it's hard to compare it, but to see progressions like that over the course of a show must be kind of fun to watch, just new fans explore it and find it and different levels.
Yeah, it's great. It's totally wild. And so, it was great when it started to become, popular in Canada, obviously, because that's first and foremost, we're on Crave, and that's what we were going to do. Right. But then again, like I'm talking about getting feedback from people, from the United States, which is fantastic. I love that. But getting feedback from people in Australia and people in the UK and stuff like that, all around the world, saying like, listen, I don't know half the you're talking about, but I like it. It's funny, and I'm getting a big rip out of it. And that's incredible. I really enjoy that people can take something from it, and it doesn't really matter where you're from. And it's kind of funny when they say, like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but for whatever reason, I do think it's funny. And, I got to watch with the captions on, and I've got to look up, I've got to get onto Wikipedia, or, hop onto a Canadian dictionary or whatever. But it is, it is enjoyable. So that's incredible that it can reach so many people, and people think it's great. I mean, I think one of the worst things that can happen to you as an actor or as a, performer is do something and people just think it's dog, right? And so when it's not and people respond positively to it, it's incredible, man. The validation for that and all the hard work that goes into it is just, it just pays off in spades. And you just, man, it's an ear to ear grin for sure. No question about it.
You guys have had some celebrity recognition too, a little bit here. I've seen the E-Talk interview on the red carpet with Brad Pitt. I mean, have you had some personal people reach out, or the ones that aren't as public, or which one has kind of hit you in a different way?
So the Brad Pitt one was really cool because, it's Brad Pitt.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Whatever. There's not much to say about it. There's only two words, and they are Brad and Pitt, and that's all you need to say about it, right? But the one that I really dug is so Edward Norton did a series of tweets directed to Jared Keeso, but also sort of tagging everybody else, like the main cast in the show, saying how much he really enjoyed the show and how it was a great testament to comedy and this and that. And so that was really cool. Like I think Edward Norton is incredibly talented as a performer. And I think he's a pretty smart dude from what I know. I mean, I don't know him personally or anything like that, but that's crazy. Like, so again, the words Brad and Pitt are obviously awesome, but Edward Norton's rad, man. I've enjoyed the hell out of his work forever. And so it's just like those two certainly are ones that I never really thought that it could be, those guys watching something that I'm in and actually liking it, and liking it enough to reach out like Edward Norton did on Twitter and say, these guys, they're not total dummies. Like they know sort of what's going on. So that's wicked. Those are my favorites for sure.
You mentioned Edward Norton, so it's funny because I printed these off because I thought, you know what, they're pretty awesome what this guy had to say about you guys, because he's not a small time actor. So he had one tweet. He's had many about Letterkenny, but the first tweet was, "For what it's worth, Letterkenny has been my best mood elevation lately. The funniest damn show I've seen since the original UK Office." So again, pretty high praise. And then Trevor Risk, one of your writers there, had replied to him and gave him a Letterkenny name. And he replied again to Trevor and said, "Kudos to you, Kiso, and your whole company. I know something about masterpieces that take time to get their due, and you made one of them. It's a Canadian national treasure, and Wayne should be knighted, except he'd say hard no and be cooler for it as always, but hard yes from me." So as you mentioned, this becoming a cult favorite for everybody, those are some pretty cool things to hear from a guy like Edward Norton.
I think that's really cool. And even just, so again, him as a performer, I dig what he does. I think he's super talented, but even just sort of the way that he structures those sentences on Twitter kind of makes me dig him even more, because they're succinct thoughts about the show and specific things about the show. So that's awesome. It's not just like, hey, found this great show, click it on, whatever, blah, blah. It's just like, to me, it feels like he actually does watch it and does like it. He's not just kind of bored and firing off some tweets or whatever, or something like that. So that it's just like that, man, it tickles me pink. I think that's awesome. Because again, the respect that I have for him as a dramatic actor, and also too, like, he's a hilarious dude. He's super, super funny in a bunch of his roles too. So yeah, I dig that. I really like that. So those are pretty cool in my book. Yeah, for sure.
Future cameo.
Being called a Canadian national treasure for a show, I mean, that puts you right up there with like Beachcombers, Degrassi. I mean, that's some pretty elite company to be called a Canadian national treasure.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's like, I don't know what the benchmark or the metric would be to measure how you get to Canadian national treasure status, but Edward Norton tweeting it, I'm cool with that. And I'm going to say, yep, done. Like, yeah, for sure. I'm not fighting that one even a little bit. Like, no way. So that's great. Yeah.
You mentioned that you just going back a little bit, that, talking to people that maybe didn't understand the language and they needed their own Canadian dictionary. I look at shows like The Simpsons and Seinfeld, shows that, have lasted forever and are extremely quotable. Can you even have a normal conversation with friends and family nowadays, or are they constantly just reciting Letterkenny quotes to you?
Well, okay. So there's kind of two ways to go about it. So when I talk to my dad all the time, he loves saying lines from the show and then having a laugh and kind of saying like, and I know it's like I'm on the show. I get it, but it's so cool because he really likes it, and so he likes saying things like hard no, but he always says something like, and now what would Wayne say? He would say shirt. He's a shirt tucker, so something like that. So it's interesting to talk to him and to talk to family members about stuff like that. But then, sort of on the other side, there's let's call it, I don't know, extended family or people that I don't really know or something. That's kind of all they want to talk about, and
right.
That's the common ground where you talk, which is totally fine, and I'm okay with that. But when it's when you're just firing off one-liners at me that aren't part of a conversation at all, it's fine and it's fun, and I get a rip out of it. It's great, but it's just like, well, this isn't going anywhere. We're not talking about anything. You're just firing off one-liners, and I'll do that all day long. It's great. I don't mind it, but it's like, okay, like I'm also a person too, because like, what's up? Like, how's the weather and like that? Like, do you want to get a coffee or go for like a walk in the park because you can't go to
just one-liners. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And it turns out to be one-liners, and it's just like, okay. And again, it's like, all right, fine, I'm good. Whatever. Yeah.
When you started doing your live shows, you didn't realize they were going to start playing out in real life everywhere you go to. That's how it's happening.
Yes, I did not see that coming, although yes, it's there. Yes,
it's there. By the way, a little bit different this year as far as because you guys have had some great success with the live shows. I remember talking to you about them and just how much fun you had doing them. And I mean, everybody's kind of adjusting to this new world. I mean, I guess that's kind of part of the conversation now with everything, but a little strange not to have the live shows, at least for right now. Looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody, everybody's going through a hard time and everybody's got a different world because we all live in the same world. Like that's just sort of the
Mhm.
way it is. So we started the live tour this year, and it was a little bit different because before it was myself, Jared, Kay Trevor, and Mark Forward, and so there were just four of us on the live tour. But this one we started, and there is Jared, myself, Michelle Milet, Kay Trevor Wilson, Dylan Playfair, Andrew Herr, Tyler Johnston, and Evan Stern. So there's nine of us on the tour, and it was so much fun. So we got 9 shows in, and our last show was our first American show in Detroit. We played the Masonic Temple there. It was like 5,500 people, and it was like the best show and the most fun experience I've ever had. And then we drive to Buffalo, and not only do we not do the Buffalo show, we go across the border and everything gets shut down. So a total bummer, but man, those are so much fun. So it's totally disappointing that we don't get to do it yet. But look, there's lots of people in that situation, live music, all that kind of stuff is just everybody got boned hard, and we're no different. But when it comes back, like definitely into that because it's so much fun. It's such a different experience, and you get to travel around with your pals, and you get to go. Well, now it is all over North America. Like we had 38 cities, and most of them were in the States, or supposed to be, until. But so yeah, it's so much fun. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Did that impact your regular filming schedule this summer too? Like, what would a normal summer, leading into Christmas time, kind of look for you guys in terms of filming?
Yeah, it totally did. So what we do is we film basically 2 seasons every year. So we do 14 episodes a year, or we have been doing that. And so we do it in 2 blocks. So the first block is usually we have a 21-day shoot schedule, and so it starts arguably about the 1st of August, and then goes until about the 1st of September, around there or whatever. And then take a hiatus until about mid-November to mid-December. So we do 7 in August and then 7 mid-November to mid-December. So we didn't do any this year, and we've pushed our shooting schedule until May of 2021 because of just the fantastic COVID. And so, yeah, it's totally been interrupted. But, a big part of our shooting is having fun and enjoying being there. And, it never feels like a job. And I think, we know we're going to do the episodes anyway. And so it's not such a big deal that we push it back, and, things can be a little bit more safe. People can figure out the protocols on set a little bit better and this and that. And so it'll feel still not totally normal, but it'll feel more normal because things will have been worked out a little bit more. So definitely the shooting schedule totally impacted. We didn't even shoot this year. Like when the new season comes out, it'll be more than a year since we shot it because yeah, we finished like last December, and now it'll come out this December. Yeah.
That's amazing. Just listening to you talk, it sounds like you're pretty good friends, off camera too, which is amazing to hear. Kind of a loaded question for you, but I mean, 9 seasons in, do you have a favorite moment, or does anything stick out to you during that time?
There's definitely a few. Some are some are less for public consumption than would be for.
This is a safe space. Come on, man. This is what we're.
I feel like it's just going to be us listening to this.
That's it. Yeah.
So, to pick one moment, I think would be really difficult.
Sure.
Because we've been doing it. So when we start shooting again, we've been going up to Sudbury for 6 years. A couple times a year, basically for 6 years. Like that's crazy. And so there's a ton of stuff that we've done and been through together, and the live tours and all this kind of stuff. So it's really hard to pin down one. There in season 1 and season 2, when it was all fresh, and we were all staying at the same hotel and stuff like that. It was so much fun and such a great, we were all friends before, or the majority of us were friends before, but it was such a great bonding experience. And so those bonding experiences as an overall are my favorite part of it, because it's like, the stuff on set and when you're with everybody and you're working, that's really fun. But the stuff offset, when you actually want to see the people you work with too, and you want to around and you want to have fun and you want to be, you want to kind of get into some mischief a little bit and stuff like that. It's great. I love it. So to pin down one specifically, hard to do, but definitely the bonding experiences when we're not on set are my favorite parts of shooting all the time, because they're fun, man. I just want to hang out with those guys anyway. So the fact that we get to do it in another city and have some fun. We call it summer camp all the time, like going to summer camp, because that's what it feels like. You feel like you're a kid again, going and getting into some mischief and just having a great time. So those are my favorite. Those are definitely my favorite.
So you talk about friendships. I was lucky enough to talk to you, I guess, back in March when this whole horror show began. We did a little bit of a Q&A for the Flames website. But you told me some great stories about how you and Jared kind of became close, being in Vancouver, being in enemy territory, being huge Flames fans, and how that kind of became, I think it was the 3 Flames fans and a couple Jays fans. But anyway, I wonder if you could talk a bit about that, because I found it fascinating. You said you guys would be sitting in the bar riffing about the Flames and then having fun talking about, different names and rhymes and all this stuff, and you were kind of pals in enemy territory.
Yeah, totally. It was, so the way that we met, so Jared and I met through some mutual friends, and we started playing on a beer league hockey team together. It ended up being sort of, when it was all said and done, I think there were 6 of us that ended up playing on this beer league team called the Trappers, that now on the show. So Jared, myself, Dylan, Andrew, Tyler, and the Ginger too, Jamie Lapointe. So we all played on the Trappers team. So after you've had a beer league game and either you win or you lose, who the hell cares? Because it's all BS anyway, but so much fun. Jared and I would just riff on because we both have the similar humor. So we'd riff on the last names of the players on the Flames, because I grew up in Calgary, so I'm a huge Flames fan. He didn't grow up in Calgary, but he's a huge Flames fan too. So that was like a bond right away. And so start joking around, have a few beers and start joking around a little more, and then texting back and forth. And that kind of developed into the writing of the 3 Flames fans skits. And we were both actors anyway, and we wanted to do something fun that we actually wanted to do. And so we kind of wrote those and put those on tape, and that's how it started. And we were just having fun. I mean, there was no end game to it. It was just, let's put this up. Let's see what the hell everybody thinks about it. Now, they did come out to sort of like limited success. I thought they were hilarious, and Jared did too. And that's the whole reason why we did them, is we loved them. We thought they were hilarious ourselves. And then from that, we did another one, the couple of Jays fans, which was essentially the same concept, was just riffing on the last name of current and former Blue Jays players. And then Jared approached me and said, "Hey, I've got this other thing too. It's basically like one-liners about some things you might like encounter in a small town. Do you want to shoot it?" And my answer was, of course, yes, because we just have fun doing it anyway. I don't care what it is. It could be terrible, and I'd love doing it. That was Letterkenny Problems. So we ended up doing that, and that's where it went. That's where it all started from.
Win or lose, you still booze. That's the rec hockey motto, right?
I was gonna say.
Exactly.
I'd be curious. You got to do like the ranking for us of that team. Like, so you get the team, the show, but I want the hockey player rankings. Can you give me the 1 through 6 ranking, or is that too?
Yes, I can. Absolutely. I can do that. I'll put myself at number 6 as the talented, 100%. Okay, so I'll go me at number 6. I'll go Tyler at number 5, Andrew at number 4, Dylan at number 3, Jamie the Ginger at number 2, and then Kiso at number 1, because he's too good for his own good and pisses me off. He's great. So yeah, so those are the rankings of like skill level. If we're talking about who's the biggest head on the ice, Tyler Johnson, who plays Stewart, he is number 1. He is an agitator, man. He's a stick in your crotch type of a I love him though. He's so much fun.
Oh, that's great.
More importantly, though, my rankings are who remembers the beer and who forgets the beer every week. Because if you're a constant forgetter, you're automatically at the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah.
Anybody stick out?
Great point, Keats.
No, nobody sticks out. Everybody was pretty good about that. Also, Kiso, because he was the captain of the team, he took it upon himself.
Oh,
Created this.
leadership.
So he had the beers, and he created this punch card system that was like seemingly, it's like, oh god, you're thinking too much about it. Except it kind of
No.
worked perfectly, and it was just like, okay, cool. So like, I'll go get the beer, but everybody's got to pay because I'm not buying all you jackasses beer. Plus, you drink like fish. And so it's just like, okay, so he created this punch card system. So he usually brought the beer, and it was great. Man.
Genius.
It was
That's
awesome.
brilliant. Yeah, that's
Genius.
genius.
Now that's a good captain right there. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. It's great.
Unreal.
We gotta address the elephant on the Zoom call. You've got the new Blasty jersey on there. I think it's important that we, as a Flames fan, going back into that era, it looks sharp. We need your official comment on the return.
I like it. So when it came out, I believe it came out in 98. Is that correct?
Correct.
No big deal.
Nailed it.
Numbers in my head. No big
The
deal.
trivia gets harder as we go along, so be prepared.
Please no. I really have that one, and that's it. I like it. You know what? I'm always a fan of a switch up jersey, and this one sort of holds a bit of a special place in my heart because every time I think about Blasty, well, for lots of things about the Flames, I think about Jerome Iginla, but Blasty, that jersey, it just reminds me of him for some reason. I'm not sure exactly why, and I'm just like, so it's got a special place in my heart. Also, too, I like it because it is the jersey. It is the original jersey, but it looks a little bit sharper and a little bit, just kind of just tighter a little bit. And so it's just like a little bit of a modern touch, and I dig that. Yeah, nothing crazy. Let's not reinvent the wheel here, but let's make it look pretty cool. And I think it's been a great job. Yeah, for sure.
I like how you said Iggy because literally just before we started, mine came in the mail, and that's who else could I
There you go.
possibly get, right? Like, come on.
We've heard but that's the funny thing about this jersey though, is it's wide ranging, right? Like I've heard a lot of the Fred Brathwaites. I've heard a lot of the Valbures. Everybody seems to have a guy they associate with the Blasty jersey.
Nice.
That's what
Good, nice pull on Freddie Brathwaite there. I really like that. That's pretty cool. But really though, like I am very jealous. I'm not going to make any bones about that you have Iginla on the back of the jersey there. You guys were so nice and sent me a jersey, which I'm like eternally grateful for. And I did definitely put it on the second I got it.
Nice.
And just wore it around the house. And I'm going to get a name on the back of it, and it will be Iginla. I thought about getting something else, and I was just like, no, you know what? It's Iginla. He's come on, I don't have to say anything about it. It's Iginla.
Nah.
Yeah.
Well, don't you have to go with Dale's number one? I mean, that's makes sense, right?
You know what? If the next time you see me, if I have Dale's number one on the back of my jersey, you can eject me from the arena if you want, and I wouldn't be surprised if you like kick me in the nuts too. Like,
that's a hard jersey foul right there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Tie that in though. It would be a goalie number, and I remember the last time we talked too. You're saying you might be number 6 on your hockey team that you had going there, but you were a lacrosse goalie, which is awesome. The only thing I think I love more than Letterkenny is lacrosse. So you were a lacrosse goalie, and that led to you becoming a big fan of Mike Vernon. So that was kind of an interesting thing too. So what was it about Vernon, I guess, aside from that fact that he was a goaltender, that kind of made him one of your favorite guys growing up?
I liked Vernon because I liked him because I thought he was a fantastic player. Like that was kind of it. And I've always had a special place in my heart for goaltenders because it's just like you're kind of, a lot of people will call them a little bit weird and a little bit like, oh yeah, that's a Tendy. He's going to be like the odd one or whatever. But I like that. I like the solo performance that a goaltender has. And obviously the mask, I loved his mask. And I kind of loved that everybody, and towards more so the end of his tenure, gave him so much for some reason. I always felt bad, and I always felt more of a connection because I was just like, man, screw that. You don't have any idea how hard of a job that is. Screw you guys. I like Vernon even more. And then also, I mean, that coupled with, I did play goalie for a lot of time in lacrosse, and so I did feel sort of a connection in that respect because it was just like, I know how is sometimes because it doesn't matter what happens in front of you, you're the one who lets it in, even if it's not really your fault. So it's kind of on your shoulders. And so, I mean, but that's, so Vernon is one, but then like, man, I love Roman Turek. And then obviously Kiprasov, like, come on, give me a break. Like was my guy and still is. I have a really good friend of mine, Dan Payne, who lives in Calgary. The only interaction we have on Instagram messaging is Kiprasov articles or Kiprasov memes and stuff like that. And so he's, goalies have always sort of held a special place for me. And Vernon was definitely the start of it for sure.
Like growing up, in Calgary, the Flames fandom starts there for sure. Growing up in the city and being exposed to it like every Calgarian is growing up. For you, where did it start? And what was it like growing up in the city? Does it still, you mentioned you're in Toronto now, but is this where your heart is?
Well, speaking just about sport, 100%. There's no possible way I'm not even going to say it. I don't even want to go to a Maple Leafs game. I really don't. The only one that I really want to go to is when the Flames come once a year to play. And so, I can respect them as a team and they've got some great players and whatever, but sport-wise, my heart's always going to lie with Calgary. And the city itself, I dig this city itself. When you grow up in a place, I think there's a tendency to want to move away and to want to distance yourself from everything that you have growing up. And you're kind of almost like no, I wasn't from there. That's not a part of who I was. But the more I go on, the more I legitimately want to come back and spend time in the city. I love the city now. My folks live there. It is really fun to come back. And some of my best memories, especially in the last, in the recent memory, have been coming home for whatever reason and going to Flames games. It's a part of why I love coming back to the city, and it's just everything involved. It's going down to the Dome. It's getting excited like the day of. It's going with pals, getting drunk afterwards if you want to do. It's just great. So the whole thing. So Calgary's a great one, and where it started for me, for the Flames especially. My dad used to take me to games when I was super, super young. Like those are some of my youngest, my earliest memories as a Flames fan were, we had season tickets with, cause the season's a long thing, right? So it's like, I think we had season tickets. I think we split it with 2 other families maybe. Cause, it's a lot of home games, and when you're a parent, who the hell has time to take kids to that many games? And we had these great tickets. They were right behind the Flames net, and that's what I remember the most. It was just going there, getting like a malted ice cream with Dad and popcorn, and getting to have a soda and stuff like that, and just loving it. And then spending time with Dad and spending time with Mom and stuff like that too. But just great. Everybody cheers. Everyone's excited. It's great, the crowd's going wild, and even when they lose, it sucks, but damn it, it's still fun, so those are my memories, and those are always have a special place for me, and that's it started early for me, 100%.
Will James Neal always have just a little fondness in your heart if you remember back to the promo that we were cutting about 2 years ago? You're standing by the carpet. Maybe I have the clip here, actually, by the way. It's going to sound terrible podcasting, but we'll give it a quick play here. You hear it? One more time. Get ready?
Yes. Okay. In answer to your question, 100%. He could. Wow. I guess if he killed someone, I wouldn't like him anymore. But other than that, he can do whatever he wants, and I dig James Neal, man, because. Yeah. I don't know him personally. I've heard he's a super nice dude, and that specifically, he did a holler back to me when he's going out to start playing like that. That was awesome. That was so much fun. I remember that. That made my whole night. That was incredible. I love that. Yeah.
For those when we don't playing the video, but it was you're standing right by the carpet. The whole team's walking out. You threw out a pitter patter, and he finished it like right on cue. Just nailed the line on his way out.
But the other thing is too, everybody's walking out. They've got their game faces on, and he's no different. He's walking out game face, and I'm just like, I'm standing there being a dink, and I'm just like pitter patter, and then like straight face James Neal, let's get at her, and then go through. You're just like, I remember I looked at you like, did that just happen? Do that? That's amazing. Yeah,
it was so good. Good.
That was wicked. Yeah.
Nathan, I got to ask you too, because I know a part of your history growing up in Calgary too, hockey obviously being a big part of your life as it is for so many, but you're a Ty kind of mentioned the multi-sport angle with it too. Being around the Rockies, you were a pretty talented snowboarder, is that right?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of it. Yeah. Myself and my really good pals growing up, we did a lot of snowboarding. Growing up near the Rockies is something that I didn't realize how special it truly is, and access to all of those great resorts and areas and places was incredible. So yeah, we did. We used to do, or I used to competitively snowboard for a long time, a really long time, and I was fortunate enough to have some sponsors and stuff like that, and Burton Snowboards was good enough to give me a bunch of free gear and make me feel special, like I was getting the new gear before anybody else had it. I loved that so much, and so it was great. Yeah, so we did competitive snowboarding for like years and years and years, since I was maybe 8 or 9 years old up until I was about 17 or something like that. So it was so it was super super fun, and a huge part of growing up was competitive snowboarding. So yeah, it was great.
Do you still have a chance to go out every now and then, or is it when you stop competitively, was that kind of the end of it for you?
Yeah, totally. That was 100% the end. It was a full
Really?
stop. So at the end of it, when I decided to go, I don't remember what year this is, but when I decided to go, I guess it was I went till later than 17. So when I decided to go to school, and it was going to be to to an acting school in Victoria, um, I stopped. I just cut everything. I just stopped snowboarding entirely because I stopped loving it. I stopped having a great time doing it. It became to the point where it was kind of like it turned into like a business. And I had gotten into it because I loved it. I love spending time with pals. I love spending time outdoors. And it turned into something different than that. And so I stopped. And since then, I've been out one or maybe two times in the last like 12 or 13 years. So no, I don't do it at all anymore. Like not even a little bit.
Should add that onto the show. Darry'd look sharp in the boots, eh? The boots and the overalls, maybe getting pulled behind a horse on a snowboard or something. Like that's got gag written all over it. Like you got to do that somehow.
Well, yeah, I feel like if you're, if you've got a snowmobile, if you've got a sled, you can pull me behind it. I might be able to still stand up on it. Could be hilarious. And then if I don't, it'll be even funnier. Get a face full of rocks and slush and I don't know, cow. I don't know, whatever, Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Well
goodness.
said.
Nathan, I think we could probably go on for hours, but we got to let you go. I mean, thank you so much for your time, man. Unreal insight. We love that you're sporting the colors. Looks fantastic on you. And hopefully we can get you down to the dome again real soon. Like this is far too long, man.
It could not come fast enough.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your time today. This was awesome. And yeah, I could sit here and yammer on for about a million hours. But again, thank you for the jersey. I love it. How can you not? Very exciting. So hopefully we'll see you guys soon, and it will be in the dome. Damn it. It'll be awesome.
Great stuff there from Nathan Dales. You can stream season 9 of Letterkenny beginning on Christmas Day on Crave. Parks, before we go, we're getting closer. We still don't have exact dates, but most of the guys are back in town now, and you've had a chance to catch up with some of the new guys recently. There seems to be a real excitement among the players right now. In your conversations with them, what kind of a sense are you getting as we inch closer to training camp?
I think the fact that there's a lot of guys coming back into town, and there was a number that stayed here throughout this second kind of pause or this off season that were here already. Guys like Milan Lucic, Mark Giordano, Rasmus Anderson had kind of stuck around, but now, we talked to the three Swedes that came in on a flight last week. So, and then Dominic Simone, who's a newcomer, he talked about wanting to get here a little bit earlier, kind of get his feet on the ground. And obviously he's now into the team facilities and working out a little bit. And so, I think we're going to look at probably almost the majority of this roster being back into town by sometime early next week, which I think kind of says where we're at as far as the hope of hockey coming back, but also just what the mentality is a little bit. I think guys are itching to kind of get going here. And as soon as that date's announced, I think we're going to see kind of excitement and optimism and all those things kind of go and switch into another level. And I'll be right there with it, because I think everybody's kind of done with the waiting, done with the wondering, and obviously we want to make sure it's all set up right. And I know that they're working hard on that, but at the end of the day, I think Jeff Ward has said it numerous times before, and it kind of goes and covers different avenues, but players want to play. Players want to play, and I think that's what we're going to see here as soon as we get that date, is some genuine enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I think we both thoroughly enjoyed the playoffs, but it was late July, the 26th, I want to say, when we were at the Dome watching that inter-squad game, and that was the last time we saw a game in person. And obviously, it's didn't quite have the sizzle that maybe you'd expect from a regular season or playoff game. So if we get a chance to see it in person, again, it's going to be amazing. So
yeah, well said.
Wait and see. So for Brendan Parker, Ty Pilson, and our guest Nathan Dales, I'm Ryan Dietrich. Thank you so much for listening to the Firestarter podcast presented by Boston Pizza.